Secondary break. I'm Graham Bunn. I got my boy, the two guard, Mr. Zach Talitsky here. You guys, again, powers that be that have told me this, like and subscribe. I don't know if that matters, but it seems like it does. So if you guys enjoy this or you just feel like you're in a giving mood, like and subscribe. All right, UNC takes down Notre Dame senior night, 84-51. The only thing that matters now, and again, I'm not making light of Notre Dame. They won 5 out of 6, and one of those was a game against Clemson, a team at which beat us. Another one was Georgia Tech, another team that beat us. We handle business. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They went on senior night. And for me, I fall victim to this, but I give myself some grace. I grew up on Tobacco Road. I'm a diehard Tar Heel fan. As you know, it's Duke week. Like, Duke got to play on Monday. They put it behind them. They got to prepare for what will be their fight to get a piece of the ACC regular season. We've already clinched a piece of the ACC regular season. So cheers to that. I put a little Coors Light in my cup tonight. I thought I had a Coors Light bottle from my little Carolina koozie here. Didn't have it, so I went can. But we're celebrating a championship, and I'd love for it to be outright. But regardless, as it stands right now, we are ACC champions. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, regardless, it's you get to hang a banner, and I think that's great for this team and this group of seniors and RJ. So very happy for them. It was looking good for most of the season, and then got a little dicey there for a while. The win up at UVA obviously was huge.
Massive.
We've been solid down the stretch, and so yeah, I would love to win it outright too. But nice to know that we've got at least a share in our back pocket.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what goes down Saturday, and I'd love for us today just to focus on the Duke game. Notre Dame game's over. Unless you have anything glaringly that stands out, I would like to say, Armando Bacot, love you. RJ, I hope that wasn't your last game in the Dean Dome. Some of the quotes that came out from Armando about, hey, look, I might not have been the best player. I did grab the most rebounds. He listed all these things that he didn't do the best, but he was like, I don't know if anyone's ever loved this school more than me. That hit me right in the heart. So I got a little choked up knowing that we're not going to see him play in the Dean Dome anymore. But other than that, I want to focus on Duke and winning the ACC outright.
Fair enough. The only thing I'll say about the Notre Dame game, and then we can move on to Duke, is I was very happy to see Jaylen get 10-5. I think on our last show, I was worried that maybe we weren't going to see much of Jaylen and he wasn't going to have much of an impact down the stretch, and so very happy that happened. I think he can be a huge jolt off the bench for this team. When he looks to be aggressive like he was, in the Notre Dame game. So just wanted to call that out because he'd had a tough stretch of games, and it's great to see.
Yeah, I think I text you, and again, you're so great because you're managing work and this show and all of the above. I love you. You're the best. I think I text you, was like, Jaylen is listening to the show because he came out and the first time he touched it, that thing was going up. He's like, I'm going to be aggressive. And if it goes bad, I'll go to the bench, but I'm not going to the bench without at least trying. I'm going to swing the bat.
Hey, that's what we need. We need him to swing the bat. And he can make those. So it's good to see. And to be fair, I wasn't working. I went to the Myers Park Independence high school playoff game. So Myers Park is number 1 in the state, number 4 in the country. They've got like 4 or 5 D1 guys on the team. So it was great. It was a lot of fun. I forgot how much fun high school basketball is, particularly when they're that talented. But it's a different sport than what I played. They were throwing down 360 dunks and one-handed alley oops, and they have some crazy athletes on that team. The guy I was sitting with, I turned to him before the game started. I'm like, how much would you pay right now to be able to go play in a high school basketball playoff game and feel like your old high school self and not worry you're going to blow out a knee every time you took a step? I mean, just the energy in the crowd. I was like, "Whoa, man, I miss this. This would be so much fun."
Yeah. I don't know if, in twofold, not to make you feel bad, but I passed up a chance to go see Gilbert Arenas' son play in the state playoffs. The pickup run that I go to, Gilbert and Paul Pierce and a couple other pros, Matt Barnes, they all play in this pickup run with me, and Catino Mobley. They're great, and they're so kind to let me run. But all of them got together to go watch Gil's son. I think he had like 58. But I was like, you know what? I got a show to do with my brother. I'm not going to take off work. I'm going to show up. And then here we go. Here we go.
And then I bailed on you.
And then you bailed on me.
Yeah. Well,
I can't. Yeah, go ahead.
Nazi Muhammad's son is on this Myers Park team, and I think Anton Jameson's son. They've got some pedigree. But I tell you what, I was blown away. I mean, all these guys who are going to be D1 players, just the intensity that they played on defense. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's just high school basketball is no joke at that level.
Yeah. I mean, you came to some of my games, which was awesome. Thank you. We played some big games. We played at NC State. I know you came and watched some of those. And I always wanted to show out whenever you were there, but I kind of played for a coach that had me in handcuffs. But, my day was down the road. But we'll bring it back to North Carolina. Duke on Saturday. How you feeling? I'd love to go through the matchups. And I went and rewatched the Carolina-Duke game at Carolina. And it's crazy how different both these teams are just 2.5 weeks later, to me, in my mind, because I think Duke is peaking and playing the best basketball it's played all year. They're getting healthy. Proctor has hit his stride. He was coming off like an ankle injury when he played at Chapel Hill. So I think it's going to be a completely different game.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you're looking at the, I think it's Bartovic website, but you can go in and punch in specific dates and they'll like update the rankings. It's almost like Ken Palm, but for specific date periods. And I think they have Duke is the 4th best team in the country since the beginning of February. Yeah. They have us as 18th. That seems about right to me, just based on the eye test, right? Like
Agreed.
I think in the last 4 or 5 weeks, that seems about right.
Agreed.
And so they're clearly playing very, very well. Even the game at Wake that they lost, Wake had to play out of their mind to win that game, and it still went to overtime. So you're right. I mean, I think Proctor's playing better. I think Mitchell's playing better. So just overall, and then recently it seems like they've messed around with their lineups a little bit, and they're playing a little bit bigger. So they're playing Stewart more.
He's been great for them. He's been great for them. I think he's averaging almost 12 to 13 points over the last 4 games. And I watched the NC State game, every play of it, because it would have clinched the ACC for us. And he was massive, making plays on both ends of the floor, which he was a non-factor in the game in Chapel Hill.
Yeah. So, I mean, credit to Shire. I think he's continued to kind of tweak the lineups, and I mean, they've got a wealth of talent that he can go to, so he's got that luxury. So it'll be interesting to see how they play that against us, and if they try to go a little bit bigger than they did in the first matchup. And then, I feel like we don't really have to win this game. It's I'd say gravy on the season. They've already accomplished a lot. But, it'd be great if we could, play well, build some momentum. I mean, obviously this game was a huge springboard 2 years ago to launch us into the finals run. So you'd love to see a repeat of that. But, obviously it's going to be very, very, very difficult to go into Cameron and win.
Yeah, I was watching the Notre Dame game, and obviously you were out, so I wouldn't imagine that you heard this, but it made me think of you. Jim Boeheim echoed what you said weeks ago about Caleb Love hitting a runner, putting the Syracuse game at Chapel Hill into overtime, which Carolina goes on to win. Then they beat Duke at Duke, and he said, if Caleb Love doesn't make that shot and Carolina doesn't win in overtime, they probably don't go to Duke and win, or they probably don't make the NCAA tournament, and that run never happens. And in my mind, I was thinking, Zach said that a couple weeks ago on one of our shows, which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that whole stretch from that overtime through the Duke game and everything else, I mean, it really came out of the blue, right? I mean, that year was a struggle. And then that led to one of the most fun 2-week periods I can ever remember as a Carolina fan, and I'll remember it for my entire life, that run. I mean
100%.
those two wins against Duke and the Baylor game and everything else. I mean, just incredible memories. And we're getting to that point in the season now where starting to get some butterflies, because you don't know what memories are going to get made, and so it's great to have a championship already locked up. Would love to win the ACC tournament too, and then who knows in the big tournament. But really really enjoyed this team all year. I love just how much of a celebration senior night seemed to be. How much joy everyone seems to be playing with. How much they're celebrating together. I thought it was actually kind of cool. I think one of the announcers called it out in the Notre Dame game. Just the fact that when RJ makes a shot, everybody's running over to celebrate with him. The bench is up and active and into the game. People are cheering for the walk-ons, both at the beginning and the end when they're in. And so this team, after a year last year where it was a head scratcher, from a talent perspective, and clearly the chemistry wasn't there, this team, has turned that around, and they seem to really like each other and are playing with a ton of joy. And hopefully that'll carry us through, and we'll make some more memories here in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't just been last year. Again, I know that we made a national title run 2 years ago, but 2 years ago we were an 8 seed. We were an 8 seed for a reason. We almost missed the tournament. 2020 COVID year, we weren't making the tournament. So it's been a brutal to me because you're accustomed to success, and brutal is first world problems because Carolina's been so good for so many years. But I should have started this show by saying it has been, and I was a little bit sad watching senior nights because, you and I started this mid-season knowing that we're not going to do another home game recap, and like how much fun it's been and how much I look forward to chopping it up and recapping the games with you at the Dean Dome. And I will say something about RJ Davis, and I don't know if everyone feels this way. I would imagine a lot of Carolina fans feel this way. When you watch Caitlin Clark, you don't have to be an Iowa fan to like get excited when Caitlin Clark gets hot. I feel like when RJ gets hot, basketball fans or people that enjoy college basketball, there's that effect. Like when he had the Miami game and the Syracuse game, when he starts hitting shots, it's just so much fun to watch. And I pray he comes back. I want him to do what's best for him. His career's been up and down, and I really feel like he locked up ACC Player of the Year no matter what happens at Duke. But it's just been I don't want to say an honor because I don't want to be too corny, but it's been so enjoyable. And I love this team. And if it falls short and we come up disappointed as the fan in me, I'm sure you'll watch the show that I recap and be like, I'm angry and I'm upset. This year's been amazing. Like there's been some down points, but it's been so fun watching this team, and it's been really cool doing this with you. So I echo all of those sentiments.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Boeheim said it on the broadcast. He's like, it's a little bit sad how much like regular season championships and maybe even conference championships have gotten devalued with so much emphasis on the NCAA tournament. And I understand why that's the case. I mean, that's the big prize. In a program like North Carolina, you've got expectations to go to Final Fours and win national championships. And so that's rightly, where the focus is. But as I've gotten older as a fan, I try to live the wins more and try to enjoy the whole season and the process, and the fact that, this team has really, reestablished the program at the top of the ACC. And it's been a while. And so, that in and of itself, we all should be able to, take a ton of pleasure and enjoyment from, regardless of what happens, here on out. Of course, if they don't win a national championship, I'm going to be really sad and disappointed that day. But it's not going to take anything away from just how great the season's been, in my opinion.
Yeah, one of the cool things about my career in college basketball was I went to a school where the expectations of winning a national championship were never there. And yeah, of course, I wish that I was good enough to play at a program like North Carolina, even though there was a walk-on spot for your boy. Making the NCAA tournament or winning a ring, I was very fortunate. I won 2 regular season championships in college, so I got 2 rings. So for me, the regular season and the tournament championship, especially the tournament, the ACC tournament, means the world, because when you play at a mid-major like myself, and big shout out to the Appalachian State Mountaineers, they are kicking off their conference tournament. They're the number 1 seed. Coach Kearns got Coach of the Year. Anyone that's watching, why is he talking about App State? I played at App State, and I'm very proud of that program. They won their conference, and the only way, for the most part, I think there's an outside chance that they get an at-large bid if they go and they lose in the championship. If they lose before the tournament championship, they're out. But they are the number 2 rated mid-major team in America, which is awesome. And they've been receiving top 25 votes for like 6 weeks. But the point of that
they
is
have that Auburn win, right? Didn't they beat Auburn?
they have Auburn.
The
Yeah, they
so
beat Auburn at home.
That's a good-looking win. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're undefeated at home. Like like 26 wins. Like they just had an incredible year. But the point of it, to bring it back to North Carolina, is regular season championships mean something. Like it does. And I get it. We're a little bit biased because Carolina, I think we've won more regular season championships than any other program by like 13 or something. Like something, it's a large margin. So not that we take it for granted, but like you said, Final Four appearances, national title appearances, that is what people go to Carolina for, and I support that. But being a mid-major kid, I'm cheersing and I'm enjoying the ACC regular season championship. I think it's an awesome accomplishment, especially when I'm going to put you on the hot seat. You know how many votes we got to win the ACC preseason?
0?
From the media? You're close. 1.
1. Yeah.
1. And, you and I talked about it. RJ was not picked to make first or second team. I believe RJ and Armando will both make first team. I think Armando's going to be the 5th, and I think RJ will be player of the year. So it's just there's been a lot of things to recap after senior night of like, what a great year. Let's get into Duke week. Let's get into this game at Duke. And outside of a national title or beating Duke in the Final Four, which was that was one of the most dangerous days of my life celebrating that one. There's no better feeling than winning at Duke. There just isn't.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's great. In general, I don't subscribe to Schadenfreude, but I do enjoy watching the faces of the Dukies, when we go in there and win, and the pain and the suffering after knowing that they've spent like 2 months in the cold and the wet in some tent. And then they lose. It's sorry.
Well,
I have to enjoy it a little.
Yeah, he's a friend of ours, so I know he's gonna hate this, but I don't mind it. And you and I have texted about this. But Jay Williams, the whole thing where Coach K's last game, like what an epic win that was to go in there and win that game. They have all the former players there. When they cut to Jay Williams and he's like, get a timeout. Like, what's happening right here? It's one of my favorite things in the history of the world. It's great. So I hope the boys get it done. And, keys to the game, everyone always says you can throw the records out the window. And I believe that. But there are a few things that I think we have to check off the list. And if we don't get them done, we don't have much of a chance to win. I'm going to put you on the hot seat first. What do you think keys to going into Cameron and getting a win this Saturday are?
Yeah, I wrote down 5 prepping, but I'll give you my first one. And that's, I think, something we did very well in game 1 that we need to do again, which is run them off the 3-point line and make them make tough twos. And they made a lot of tough twos in game 1. But, again, the math is 3 versus 2. And so we'll take that all day. Their 3-point shooting, when you look at their, statistical rankings nationwide, is really like their superpower. I mean, they're I think top 10 or something like that. And
Jeremy Roach is shooting close to 50%. It's like 48% from 3. That kid.
Yeah, and they get it from a lot of spots, right? Like they get it from him and McCain, and Proctor's been shooting well. Of course, Filipowski. They got kids coming off the bench. Caleb. He can make them. Power can make them. So
TJ Power,
yeah. So we just have to stay attached and force them, I think, to drive and then not leave the shooters. And if they finish, in the paint and they finish over people, we'll just have to live with that. So that'd be my first one. If we give them a bunch of looks, from 3, we can't count on them missing them. They're too good of shooters. So that'd be number 1.
Mm-hmm. For me, and you're going to be like, you'll be shocked by this, but rewatching the game and then watching the NC State game, I think we have to clear them decidedly. I don't think it can't even be close. We have to win the battle of the boards. So they played NC State, and I felt like they got an offensive rebound every possession. And so NC State defended them well off the first look and the first action. They just couldn't secure the rebound. And like, you can't give Duke second chances, especially Duke at home. So keeping them off the offensive boards, I think, is going to be paramount. If we don't do that, I don't think we got a shot in the world. And the one thing that I didn't brag on Armando Bacot, and I listened to both broadcasts, State and Carolina, obviously back-to-back days. They were talking about his defense. I know you and I have talked about Armando's defense. Watching him, he's one of the few guys I think can play Filipowski head up and not have to double. I don't think Filipowski can guard Bacot in the post without a double. So I think that plays a big factor. So if Armando comes to play, stays out of foul trouble, and is able to contain Filipowski on the perimeter and keep him off the boards, I think we got a shot to win.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that was one of my keys too, is that Bacot Filipowski matchup. I think Mondo won round one.
Which is crazy to me. Like, for everything, Filipowski, National Player of the Year, preseason, the skill set, all of the above. I just feel like Armando doesn't get enough credit for exceeding expectations, even though he's a fifth-year guy. I mean, like, he's really done a lot of great things for us that might not necessarily show up in a fan's like Rolodex. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why we're pretty good, maybe even better than pretty good in terms of 3-point shooting defense this year, is because we don't have to double in the post, because we let Bacot, and so that's if you do, point. Of course, you're constantly in rotations, and then people are getting good open looks if your rotations aren't spot on. And so the fact that he can really handle just about anybody in the country one-on-one down there allows us to stay at home, and I think allows us to take away a lot of 3-point shots. But and I think that matchup sometimes also comes down to officiating. And they bang, and are they going to let those two guys bang? Is one of them going to pick up a couple of touch fouls and over the back foul and have to sit? That obviously can change the flow of the game. So I think that matchup is going to be critical. And
before you move on, I want to ask you something to go with that. So, people always say styles make fights. Washington hasn't been able to play in some games because the matchup just doesn't suit him defensively. Like, he has trouble defending. I feel like this is a game where defensively he can hold his own, because I don't think Filipowski can bully ball him the way someone like DJ Burns, because of the weight. I don't want to. I'm drawing a blank on how distant the weights are there, but like DJ Burns could kind of bully Washington, I think, and I hope Bacot doesn't get in foul trouble. But I think Washington can kind of hold his own in a game like this, because Filipowski's not a true 5, and Jaylen really isn't either.
Yeah, maybe. Although I think Duke would probably put him in ball screen actions, and he hasn't always held up against that. But yeah, I hope you're right. And you
cannot play drop coverage against Duke in the ball screen.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. And so I don't know. I mean, maybe we even be better with Withers, and playing a little smaller against them, but more athletic and being able to cover some of that ball screen stuff. But hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully Bacot can stay on the floor. And we won't need to try to adjust.
Yeah. Also the experience. I mean, RJ's been in this game. This will be his 4th time going to Duke. Mondo's been there 5 times. Those are impact players that hopefully, for the most part, I would imagine this is not going to be too big for them. They understand what they're walking into. Hubert has played in this. Now Shire has too. But I think the experience, well, I guess they have Roach. Roach has played in it 4 years. But I think we have them. I mean, it's not Carolina Duke, but Cormac Ryan's played at Duke, 3 or 4 times in his career. So I also like the fact that our impact players aren't going to be experiencing the Cameron Crazies and Cameron Indoor in Duke Week for the first time,
Yeah, I expect us to play well, and I expect us to handle the environment well. That doesn't mean we'll win, because I think Duke's a very good team, and they're clearly playing well. So it's going to take a lot, but I think we're going to show up. And I do think like that first 4 minutes, we talked about this after game one, and I think Jay had mentioned it in your interview with him, just the emotion that goes into these games and the adrenaline that's flowing, all day and in the warm-ups into that first 4 minutes. And I thought we won that first 4 minutes at home. We were able to get a bit of a lead, establish a tempo. And really, we didn't look back. We were able to kind of keep that lead for almost the entirety of the game. And so I think that again, I think that first 4 minutes to the first TV timeout is going to be critical. Hopefully we won't have to chase this game. If we could sort of withstand the energy and the crowd, get out a little bit of a lead, I think that'd be really, really helpful.
Yes, I would love that because I think that calms us as well. The last thing you want to do when you're on the road is allow their crowd to be a factor because they get rowdy and things are going well and it's loud in there. Then every shot feels like, man, I got to make this. Like we can't get down any further. I'm in agreement. A good start on the road. I don't want to be trying to climb back into this thing. So a good start on the road is going to be big. All right, last thing. I love this about the ACC, and I love this about Saturday. I'm looking at the standings right now. Clemson's in fourth, which is crazy to me because they just lost at Notre Dame. But Clemson, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, and Wake Forest. Wake Forest has 2 games left, though. They're all separated by 1 game for that double bye. Like, that makes the ACC tournament and the last weekend of ACC play just so enjoyable. I mean, like, obviously, the conference championship has 50% already been decided, which I love. Great day to be a Tar Heel. Carolina is, no matter what happens on Saturday, at least partial ACC champs. We could be outright, which would be great. Who do you think going down the stretch, Clemson, Pittsburgh, or Syracuse, who do you think ends up with the 4 seed? Like, the math is melting my mind, so I don't know. So just give me a guess.
Yeah, I don't know enough about who's playing who to really answer. I haven't studied the schedules. I mean, I think that Clemson is the best team of those. If you had to say, who do you think is the best? But I don't really know what the matchups are.
I mean, Clemson plays Wake Forest. That's why I was getting at. Like,
where is that game?
I think it's at Wake Forest.
Okay.
Oh, I take it back. It's at Wake Forest. Like that game's going to basically decide the 4 seed, I believe, if I'm doing that correctly.
What and Wake probably has to win that game to make the tournament now. I mean, after
Wake's out. Wake's out right now. Yeah, definitely. After losing to Georgia Tech at home, they're out right now. They got work to do.
Yeah, I mean, not to pile on Wake, but that's been a choke job since they beat Duke. They dropped, I think, a couple of games, right? They lost to Notre Dame and then to Georgia Tech at home.
And I was looking at go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, so I think they have to win that Clemson game. But if they do, my guess is they'd be back on the right side of the bubble. So I'd probably take Wake in that game.
Yeah. I looked at, and this is crazy. Again, I don't think it's going to end up mattering, but I was looking at resumes because I hope the ACC gets 5 teams. I don't know if they will. You never know with Selection Sunday, but Georgia Tech's resume is like it's mind blowing. They've got a losing record against Quad 4, and they've got like an elite Quad 1 record at 4-1, like number 1 seed type level Quad 1 record, and then a losing record against Quad 4 and like maybe 500 against Quad 3. It's just unreal. It's like a team that you can't, it makes our loss there look a little bit better, but it's like it's hard to figure. And they're out. But I think Clemson, Wake Forest, I think State has to do some work. I think State has to win all the way to the semis or even get to the conference championship to have a chance to break through in the tournament because the ACC just not respected this year. But yeah, it's interesting. Saturday's going to be fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're at risk of only getting 3 teams. I mean, I think both Virginia and Wake, if they slip up, one more game, if Virginia were to lose in the first round of the ACC tournament, if Wake loses to Clemson, I don't know. I mean, we're in danger of only getting 3. I mean, I hope we get at least 5, but there's no guarantees right now.
Virginia and Wake, as of today, are on Joey Brackett's last 4 in. And
Right.
unfortunately, Virginia plays Georgia Tech. But they play Georgia Tech at home, so they're going to win that. They play well at home.
Yeah.
But Georgia Tech seems to be like everyone's kryptonite right now. But I think they get that done, and I think if they win one game in the ACC tournament, then they get in. But you're right. As it sits right now, we're getting 3 teams. And I would have never guessed Miami just wouldn't be a factor at all. Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. 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 Now, if I'm a UVA fan, I'm definitely sweating the Georgia Tech game and the first round of the ACC tournament. You don't want to drop either of those. Yeah.
Look, I love Virginia. I hate playing against them. I've just never seen multiple games where teams don't break 20 in the first half. Like, that's tough. So, we'll see. Hopefully they get in. All right. Do I even dare give me a we're ranked nationally, we're ranked 7th. Duke's ranked 9th. So, I don't think win or lose, I don't think it affects our resume at all. But give me your projection for Saturday. You can abstain if you want to, because I don't want to jinx it either.
I think we're going to lose. I think we're going to lose in overtime by 3.
Okay.
I think it's going to be nip and tuck, back and forth the whole way.
I think we win in regulation by 4. 2 free throws at the end. It's a 2-point game. We get a stop, rebound. They foul RJ. He goes to the line, sinks 2, and we see the water bottles dancing party in Cameron Indoor Stadium, rocking out. And then I'm going to need someone to check on me, do a health check on me 4 to 5 hours afterwards.
Well, I don't know. Do you think we're locked in at a 2 regardless of the outcome on Saturday, or do you think there's a chance we slip down to a 3?
No. I think we're locked in at 2. But I do believe if we do not win the ACC, or if we lose to anyone besides Duke in the ACC tournament, then we'll be a 3 seed. If let's say we lose at Duke, not going to happen, not putting that in the universe. Then we go to the ACC tournament, we make it all the way to the championship and lose to Duke. Then I think depending on what Tennessee, what Arizona do, then, we could Arizona State, what they do. I think that we are at risk at dropping down to the 7, 8, 9 slot, which if we fall into the 9 slot, then we end up being a 3 seed.
Yeah.
Because we're 7 right now. We're 7 right now. So like we're not, we're close to the 1 seed. We're also close to the 3 seed.
Yeah, I think they're both still in play. I mean, I think clearly if we beat Duke on Saturday and then we were to win the ACC tournament,
we're a 1 seed.
I mean, it's hard for me to imagine us not being a 1 seed.
We are a 1 seed. Golden, like lock it in. We'll be the 4th, but we're a 1 seed.
Yeah, no, those are big ifs, but I think it's still in play. And and then I think a 3, if we don't perform well in the ACC tournament and lose Saturday, I think a 3 could happen. Would you rather be a 2 in either Houston or Connecticut's bracket, or would you rather be a 3 in Purdue or Arizona's bracket?
Not even close, 100% to 0%. I'd rather be a 3, and I'll do anything to avoid UConn and Houston. Like, I started watching Houston and UConn, and Houston has the best backcourt that I've seen in the last decade, I think. Like, the Cryer Shed kid, both those guys. Shed is going to end up, and I don't know how the voters, I don't think RJ is going to win National Player of the Year. I think Zach Edey's going to win it. I'm praying that RJ is first team All-American. The player that scares me that they're going to give it to over RJ is Shed from Houston. I mean, he's special. Now, RJ's crazy special, and they do different things well. But he, like Cryer and him, and I love Elliott, even though, Elliott's not getting the credit for, being able to, like, the kid from Notre Dame is going to be ACC Rookie of the Year. Not a lot of people are talking about Elliot Cadeau nationally. I love our backcourt, but Houston's backcourt is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'd be okay slipping to a 3. I mean, a 2 plays a 3 anyway, if you both make it to the Sweet 16. So if you can get a more favorable matchup. So I don't know, it's going to be interesting. I wouldn't be too upset, I think, if we slip. And I think the way it works is even if you're a 3, you're still a protected seed from geography placement. So I think we would play in Charlotte in the first 2 rounds, regardless if we're a 2 or 3, but I may be getting that wrong.
Yeah, I don't want to look. I'm not downplaying the year Purdue has had, but I would gladly play Purdue before UConn or Houston for sure.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, go Heels. You and I will text about strategy on Saturday if we do a show Saturday or not. All right.
Sounds good. Go Heels. Let's get it done.
Go Heels.